we'll keep this. Start with Elvish Mystic. And we're going to look to put the Timberwatch Elf into play fairly quickly. But they will have access to Snap, so we should be aware that if we do put the Timberwatch Elf out on turn 2, that would take our entire turn. So Snap would be kind of like a Time Walk. Okay, we get another land. So our choices are between playing Fyndhorn Elves and attacking, or playing the Timberwatch Elf. I'll get the Timberwatch Elf out. If they have Snap, that's unfortunate, but doesn't look like that's going to happen this turn. So we should be able to get a few damage in, depending on what we draw here. Nettle Sentinel, very good. Okay, hit for 5, and pass the turn. Okay, Seagate Oracle, that's no issue. We can attack through that. We will potentially lose one of our elves in that exchange, but that's fine. For putting pressure on, I think is more important. See what we draw. Another elf. So we have no problem throwing away any of these elves. Besides the Timberwatch Elf, of course. So we'll attack all and hold this back. And whatever they do not block, we will pump. Okay, so they block the Nettle Sentinel. So we'll pump one of the other creatures and deal 7 and keep our entire board. Okay, we cannot attack this turn. And every turn they blink, the Stonehorn Dignitary. We don't have much in the way of removal. Get Quirion Ranger. So we do have lethal next time we're able to attack. Quirion Ranger can untap the Timberwatch Elf. Okay, they do have Flicker. We do also have the option of going into the Distant Melody plan and drawing a Gruesome Fate. Gruesome Fate is nearly lethal at this point. Okay, they do have Counterspell up. Birchlore Rangers is really what we're looking for here. Let's see if they'll let it resolve. Okay, they are going to counter it. I think that's a smart move on the part of my opponent. As we know, we don't have a combat step, so we just have to pass. We could have potentially untapped our forest here, but I think that's irrelevant. Okay, they're looking for a blink, either Ghostly Flicker or Ephemerate, to get the Stonehorn Dignitary still going. And they have it. Okay. So another turn without combat. They are tapped out now. So if you find another Birchlore Ranger, we can go ham with the Distant Melody. But we don't have any big mana. We have no Priest of Titania. Okay, we just find Forest. So we cannot attack. We just have to pass. Okay, Mole Drifter being evoked. Looking for Ghostly Flicker. And if they find it, they can blink the Dignitary and the Mole Drifter. So not yet. Here's another Mole Drifter. They still have enough for the Ghostly Flicker with the Chantry and the Familiar. Looks like they miss again. So now they're looking for Ephemerate. I believe they have 1 white mana floating, so they would still be able to cast that on the Dignitary, and that would give them 2 fogs. Nope, not yet. They have Snap. Okay, well that's pretty much just as good. It's going to prevent me from killing them this turn. And now they'll have Counterspell mana up. They won't be able to prohibit this, but they... Oh no, they can. They can prohibit because of the Sunscape Familiar. And we draw a second Timberwatch Elf. Okay, so we'll just run them both out. I don't really want to attack here. We would only be getting 2 damage through, putting them to 6, and we would lose 2 elves, and that's not really worth it. Okay, here's the counterspell. And we'll play another one. And just because we can, and for no other reason. Okay, deep analysis, digging for more blink effects. And Archaeomancer, which can go and get... What are they going for specifically? The Flicker? Do they have another land in hand? Or... Oh, there it is. So now they can flicker the Dignitary and the Archaeomancer infinitely. So this combo means that I can no longer kill them in combat. I do still have a slight chance if I can draw into Gruesome Fate. So we'll play out our next turn and just see if we can do that. We find Island, so that's quite ideal actually. Let's go ahead and play Distant Melody and draw a bunch of cards. We do not find Gruesome Fate, unfortunately. Let's see here. We have access to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 mana. So we could play Vanguard and Wellwisher. Wellwisher would mean we would be gaining life through the game, and I think that they would mill out. I don't know. Let's give it a shot anyway. Next turn we can try again to Distant Melody for Gruesome Fate. Now they do have more time on the clock than us, so we are going to have to play faster if this is going to be our strategy. Okay, no surprise here. Cast Ghostly Flicker, get Ghostly Flicker back. They have tons of mana left over. So we need to find that Gruesome Fate in the next couple turns. Oh, Sage's Road Denizen, so that's a win condition. I don't know if they have an infinite lock at this point. They might. They can snap the Archaeomancer to get infinite mana, and that will mill me out. Okay, so this is a difficult matchup for the Elves deck. Blue Elemental Blast doesn't hit anything. Basically, I don't think any of our sideboard cards are going to do much good at all. Okay, we will take the play. We got no lands here, so we're going to have to mulligan. This hand is great, so we'll keep it. The tough part is going to be figuring out what to put back. I think because we already have the island, we can put the Sylvan Ranger back. We don't need it for the Distant Melody. We'll start Quirion Ranger into Priest of Titania. Okay, so we get Forest here. We can play that first. I'm wondering if I want to play the Vanguard first. I want mana. We'll attack for 1 because we can, and pass it on. We're going to have access to a large amount of mana next turn, but Last Breath kills the priest, so we have access to a small amount of mana next turn. Okay, we can play the Elvish Vanguard and attack with Quirion Ranger. Unfortunately, we cannot make more mana, so the Prohibit isn't active. And we would have liked to have countered that. It will be a little bit of a speed bump. We do find an elf. Let's see here. So we can get the Elvish Vanguard to a 2/2. We have exactly enough mana to Distant Melody, but that's only a draw 2. So we might as well... What's this? I haven't seen Pauper Elves in forever. Yeah, Pauper Elves is still good. It hasn't gotten many new additions in the last little while, but strong deck. I think we end up just playing the Fyndhorn Elves and holding up Prohibit here. Okay, we attack, they block. Okay, so they're going for a second Sunscape Familiar. It's going to make all their blue spells just crazy cheap to cast. And if we try and counter this, they have access to a counterspell of their own. Going to let this one pass. We don't have the mana to counter that. Okay, we get Forest, so we're going to have to play a small Distant Melody. And that means that Prohibit is down at that point. They won't have mana to counter it though, and I think that we need to go ahead and draw 3. Oh, they have Negate. I wasn't thinking about that. I was thinking about Prohibit. Well, that's pretty good for them. They still have 4 cards in hand too. We can attack here, but they have easy blocks, so it's a no-go. Played right into their trap. Okay. There's a snap, and that'll let them untap their 2 Karoo lands, giving them access to large amounts of mana. And the Archaeomancer to get back the Last Breath. Okay, we're going to concede here. The opponent has gotten too much advantage. We have 1 card left in hand and a measly board. This hand is fine. This hand is great. We'll keep. Okay, so we're playing against Burn. Wellwisher, pretty good against Burn. Oh, right. I was in the chat, so my shortcut didn't work there. Okay, we'll start with an Elvish Mystic and pass. So we've played quite a few Burn decks while we've been doing Pauper Leagues. Don't really understand why people are still playing Burn with Weather the Storm being such a common sideboard card, but you can never keep this deck down. Okay, we have quite a few choices on what card we want to play this turn. Not interested in keeping up Prohibit here. I'm thinking either the Priest of Titania or the Elvish Vanguard. Start with a Priest, and we'll pass. This will give us access to large amounts of mana next turn if they let it stay on the board. Okay, they're going to take care of it. We have another Priest of Titania to replace it, but we're going to be looking to play the Wellwisher out this turn. Now that they've used most of their spells to remove my creatures, we're going to play the creature that we need in order to win the game. And if this one sticks, then we've won. And if not, I mean, they have to use a spell to remove it. They've already used 2 Searing Blaze. Let's hope they don't have a third. Okay, Lava Spike our face. And Curse of the Pierced Heart, so we get to keep our Wellwisher. If we draw Forest, we're in good shape. Quirion Ranger would be probably the best draw possible. But we might be dead here to a Fire Blast. Well, we would be able to activate the Wellwisher in response. So we do have to worry about that one thing. Otherwise, we only have enough mana to cast a single spell. So we'll play the Priest of Titania. And we'll pass. If we use the Wellwisher, we die to Fire Blast. And we can only go to 6 life, so we would die to double removal spell regardless of what they are. Looks like they're going to pass here and let us go to 3. So going to 3 is so much worse than being at 4. I'm going to activate the Wellwisher. And we'll see if they just have the kill. Okay, here's the Fire Blast, so we're dead. Okay, we have Essence Warden and Weather the Storm to bring in from the board. Obviously, we'll be keeping Wellwisher. I don't think Gruesome Fate is important in this matchup. That's not what we're about. I think we can also take out one Distant Melody. Why run Prohibit? It's one possible answer to quite a few problem cards. So even in the main, we can be countering Elect Trickery, or what's that new black card? All your opponent's creatures get -1/-1. There are quite a few scary cards that if they resolve, we just straight up lose. So having access to a counterspell can be the difference between winning and losing. Some of them are. Elect Trickery is something that you could play one of in the main and then 2 more on the side. And the black card, which I can't remember the name of right now, but it has cycling, so it's easy to put it in the main deck and then just cycle it if you don't need it. We are looking to take one more card out. I'm thinking... The Huntmaster costs a lot of mana. It's going to be hard to get there. So that's one possibility. Oh, hey! Thanks for the follow. Yeah, Elect Trickery is a great card. We are really hoping not to see it. Okay. Here we go. Hi, Walker. So unfortunately, Prohibit will not counter Fire Blast. Fire Blast has a CMC of 6, I think, and Prohibit will only counter a spell with 2 or 4. Okay, we have 1 land, Weather the Storm. We have Quirion Rangers and Birchlore Rangers. We're going to keep this hand. Oh yeah, it's all good. Magic is such a complicated game. It's very difficult to keep things straight. I make mistakes all the time, personally. I think we're going to start with the Birchlore Rangers. We're going to want to keep the Quirion Ranger around for the next turn so we can play it and return the forest to hand if we don't draw a land. If we lose our Quirion Rangers right away, we're in a bit of trouble. Birchlore Rangers is quite good too, though. I would hate to throw that under the bus. I have played Commander in the past. I really enjoyed playing, what is that, the French rules, Dual Commander. I had a lot of fun with that. But I don't play Commander very often. Okay, here comes Rift Bolt. Let's see if we draw Forest. We do not, but we can play 2 cards because of the Quirion Ranger here. I'm wondering if we can even get up to another mana. I don't think we have enough for the Priest of Titania, whatever we do. Oh, that's pretty cool. Like some competitive Magic. Okay, so we're going to do a little bit of a trick here with some of our elves to make some extra mana. So we can play this, and then we'll have 2 mana. That's perfect. Okay, so how many spells have we played this turn? 1, 2. So we could Weather the Storm for 3, or we could play Priest of Titania. If we play the Priest, it's a huge target. If we play the Weather the Storm, they might just scoop in frustration. I think 9 life is pretty good here. We're going to do that. I think that the Priest is pretty good in the long term, but Weather the Storm there was a nice, easy 9 life, which is equal to 3 of their cards. They're going to have to really work to catch up from that. That was my reasoning anyway. Unfortunately, we do lose a source of blue mana here. We find a second Weather the Storm. We have access to 4 mana. So we could start with Lead the Stampede. Or we could play Priest of Titania, Weather the Storm. I want to Lead the Stampede, see if I can find another 1-drop. Okay, we do find another 1-drop. And having access to the second Weather here is quite nice as a safety blanket. Oh, the Electrickery from the opponent. We don't have access to blue mana, so that works. And we have no more plays. Good Electrickery. We're going to have to wait for another mana in order to start playing cards. Opponent still has 6 cards in hand. Good thing I gained 9 life. I would say so. They're going to be taking that life away quite quickly with the Thermo Alchemists. Oh, look at that. They used the Skewer to clear the Birchlore Rangers out of the way. That makes sense. Really focus on the creatures. Oh, an Incinerate. I haven't seen one of those in years. 3 damage to any target, can't be regenerated. And no land. Unlucky. It's a little bit embarrassing, but that's Magic for you. Searing Blaze is prettier. Yeah, Searing Blaze is really what they want to be doing. But if they didn't have a land drop, it's not really going to be very effective. I mean, it would still kill the creature, untap their alchemists, so it's good in that way. At this point, the opponent can start playing around Weather the Storm if I get another land. Pretty big if. Okay, so we finally find the land, but we're basically dead. They're going to do 2 damage here, put us to 5. Riftbolt puts us to 2, and then they Thermal Alchemist again. So we need to Weather the Storm in response to their Riftbolt, and then they'll have mana untapped. So they'll be able to cast something in response to my Weather the Storm. Okay, so they miss those 2 triggers because they're so confident. And then whatever this spell is, we'll untap the 2 alchemists. Oh, they don't even need to anyways. The Fire Blast does it. GG. Another 1 land hand. But we're going to keep it. We have Llanowar Elves, Quirion Ranger. We can make quite a bit of mana on turn 2. Okay, so they're starting with an Evolving Wilds. I've generally seen Evolving Wilds in the different fairy decks. Okay, Snow-Covered Island still looks like fairy deck. Okay, so we have 3 mana. I'm looking at Priest of Titania and Birchlore Rangers here. If we play the Birchlore Rangers and Priest of Titania, we'll have access to 1 more mana, but that doesn't look like we can get anything with that. Okay, we'll pass here. Okay, so here's their first fairy. Must be looking for land drops, that would be my guess, with the Evolving Wilds on the lead. And is it Boilerworks? Okay, so they're playing the Karoo lands, and they're playing Is It. It's been a little while since I've seen the blue-red version. Most people are running the blue-black, which has Snuff Out. Okay, so we're pretty much going to be able to do our thing here. We have access to just a ridiculous amount of mana. I would like to get the Huntmaster out quite quickly so that it will be multiplying the mana I get from the Priest of Titania. How's the set so far for Mr. Cooper? Well, we're down 2. Yeah, I know. That's a little bit strange, isn't it? Okay, so could get 1, 2, 3 mana without tapping the Priest, but that's not going to be enough to play the Huntmaster, so we're just going to have to tap the Priest now. Hate Bears, that's tomorrow. We're going to play Third League with Death and Taxes. That deck has been amazing. Okay, so now we're going to untap the Priest, now that we have maximum Elves. And we'll play Lead the Stampede. 1, 2... So we will still have to tap the Priest. 9 mana, no problem. And we draw 5. So we'll play some more Timberwatch Elves here. Okay, and we can still continue playing cards, because we have these Birchlore Rangers to make more mana. And we'll go get Island. We've already played a land this turn. I think we keep on playing out creatures. I mean, if they have Electrickery, what are we going to do anyways? Okay, go ahead, opponent. Turn 3. That's why we do it. Okay, so if opponent is playing fairies, it looks like Is It Fairies, we're going to want Scattershot Archers. Spidersilk Armor will protect us from Electrickery. And if they're red, we want Blue Elemental Blast. 9 storm count. That would have been a lot of life without Weather the Storm. Okay, so we need to figure out what we're going to cut in this matchup. So we've brought in more counterspells, giving us more blue cards. I'm leaning towards cutting one of the Prohibits and one of the Melodies, since we got more blue. Not interested in cutting any more of the draw cards. Those are going to be quite good later in the game if they go long. 22-second latency. That's you know, I did go into the settings and check, and my stream should be operating normally. It does not have the delay on. I don't know what's causing that, either my internet or yours or both. We're going to take out one of the Wellwishers. Could probably take out both. I don't think this is going to be a game that's going to be coming down to a race. I think it'll be more about controlling the board. You think Gruesome Fate is quite bad here? The card has been incredible for me in the past. Every time I've cast it, it's just been a win this turn. But I guess maybe this isn't the matchup for it. If they're going to be playing counterspells, that's a pretty good thing for them to counter. Okay, we're going to take out one of the Nettle Sentinels too. Alright, good to know. So, this hand is okay. I think that we might need to mulligan it. We have 2 blue cards with no blue mana, 2 3-drops, and we only have access to 2 mana. I think that this is a trap, and if we take this hand, we'll probably be punished. Okay, this hand is much better. It doesn't have access to the fast mana, but we can get blue with Sylvan Ranger, and we have enough mana to cast our spells. Not sure if I want to keep the Prohibit or the Timberwatch Elf here. I'm leaning towards Prohibit because Timberwatch Elf is going to be such an easy target for their Lightning Bolt and Scred and whatever other removal spells they have, but it's also the only card that naturally survives an Electrickery. Think that we're going to be spending our mana too much for the first few turns, and the Prohibit is going to be a liability. Lightning Bolt is one of the best commons. We'll start with Birchlore Ranger here. We'll be looking to play probably Elvish Vanguard next turn. Okay, they're just passing with 2 mana up. So they could have Prohibit, they could have Removal Spell. If we play the Elvish Vanguard, we can play Quirion Ranger next. Let's give it a shot, see what happens. Okay, they have Spellstutter Sprite for the Ranger. And Scred for the Vanguard. So they've answered our board quite neatly. And we find a Priest of Titania. So we could play the Sylvan Ranger, go get Island, and then play the Priest. Okay, so if we can get a turn here where our opponent just leaves us alone, we might be able to bounce back. Ah, too bad. We lose the Priest. A Braid here is definitely pretty good for the opponent, but no Electrickery. Okay, so we find Quirion Ranger. We have access to 4 mana, so we'll play Timberwatch Elf, Quirion Ranger. That would give us access to another mana, but Distant Melody is not going to help out there. Okay, Now we can return a land and untap a creature, and then attack for 2. I wonder if people have stopped playing Electrickery, with elves being on the downtick, and most other decks having creatures with power, or rather toughness of 2 or more. The Familiars deck, Electrickery would do nothing against it. The Burn deck, Electrickery would do nothing against it. The deck we're playing against, Electrickery would be okay. Now they have 2 islands up, so they could have Counterspell for our Distant Melody. And we get Llanowar Elves. I'm thinking about just attacking and passing. If they do have a Counterspell, that could be a problem. But we could also play Llanowar Elves and see if they counter that, and if they do, then we can play Distant Melody for 3. So we'll play the Llanowar Elves pre-combat, because if they counter this, we need to know. Okay, they do. So we can Distant Melody. And we drew 3 forests. Oh, we're so good at this game. This league has been a delight. Oh, they have a ninja. And that means they have Spellstutter Sprite ready to counter our next 2-drop in hand, as well as card advantage from the ninja. Oh, they're tapping out of the counterspell here. Hey, we found a spell. We know they can counter it, though. We're just going to pass here. Okay, so they're holding back the ninja. We cannot block anything. And here comes another ninja. Yeah, the draw 3 lands off the melody was disappointing. Really don't think that we have any chance in this game. We're going to be moving on to the next game pretty soon. We're going to see if we can just draw a another Distant Melody, or exactly that, Lead the Stampede. So if this resolves, we might still have something going. If they counter this, then we're pretty much done. Okay, so it did resolve. We managed to draw 3 cards. Nothing too impressive. They'll be able to counter one of them, but we'll be able to play at least 2. Good question. Why not bait with a dork? That would have been pretty good. I think that would have been a little bit stronger than they could have tapped their mana, and they would have been off of counterspell for sure. Okay, so they let me just cast them all out. I'm actually kind of surprised they didn't counter the last one. Oh, well, that's why. They were just letting me play into Electrickery. That makes sense. Okay, so we do have the Spidersilk Armors. We can bring a third one in now that we know they have Electrickery. Okay, I think we're going to just smite like this. And take the play. Okay, this hand is great. This hand is exactly what we're looking for. We'll keep. Okay, the opponent has kept 7 as well. We'll start out with Llanowar Elves. Classic play. Okay, so they're going to go ahead and play a gain land. So we have access to 3 mana. I'd like to play either Vanguard Mystic or Titania Mystic. Start with Titania, get the mana. And then Vanguard, if we're able to play into it next turn, will be quite strong. That's the hope anyway. We might have also landed the Scattershot Archer there instead of the Mystic, but I was looking to produce more mana on turn 3. Okay, here's a Fairy Seer. Scattershot Archer will make quick work of that if I'm able to untap with it. Okay, they do have a red mana, so they'll probably be killing the Priest of Titania here. And we get a replacement. So we have access to 4 mana. We'll play Vanguard Priest. Interesting that the opponent is playing so many lands that don't have the snow type when they're playing Skred. Okay, they do have another Skred, so they get rid of our Priest. I'm hoping the Elvish Vanguard will get out of range quite soon. They played the Ash Barrens now, so they really want the mana. Okay, so that's what they were going for. They still have 3 cards in hand, but we are going to be able to play our 2 spells on our turn. And they are, again, some very important spells. Timberwatch Elf can easily close a game. The Huntmaster, though. Maybe I want to throw that down. This thing is an army in a can. Every time I cast an elf spell, I get another elf. So even if they counter the elf spell, I'm going to get access to the token from the Huntmaster. Okay, making a ninja. I think I am going to get a single turn here, but let's see, they might have Lightning Bolt. No, they pass, so I don't think they have it. Quirion Ranger makes extra mana, so we'll start with that. Always yes, always yield. Okay, Scattershot Archer is also immune to Electrickery, which is a nice little bonus. And we can attack for 4 here. And I don't mind throwing an Elf Warrior under the bus if I need to block the Ninja. Hell, I can throw 2 under the bus and trade with it. Electrickery here is still going to be pretty good. But we would be able to keep the Timberwatch Elf and the Scattershot. They chose not to shuffle. So yeah, here's the Electrickery. Clears most of the board. Okay, and we really don't want to block here. We would lose 2 creatures to lose against their 1. Blue Elemental Blast. Ugh. Okay. Turn late, but we didn't have access to blue mana anyways. So we can attack with the Huntmaster and hit them for 5. We could also attack with the Scattershot and bump that number up to 6. Seven, right. Hey there, Crown. It's going all right, playing Magic, so that's a good time. If you're inquiring as to how the league is going, not as good as I would like, but that's okay. We can't win every day. Played against the Familiars deck first match. That's a very impressive deck, and I still haven't figured out how to play against it as the Elves player. Looks like they've found a Skred, which is the answer to our Huntmaster. They're going to take out the Timberwatch Elf instead. Anyway, it's good to see you again, Crown. How you doing? Is this like early morning for you? Afternoon? Yeah, Familiars is a good deck. So we get to Lead the Stampede, which is good because we have no cards in hand, but we don't have the mana to play it. We're going to swing in with the Huntmaster. If they have Lightning Bolt or Skred, it's already dead anyway. Okay, hits for another 3, and we have to pass. Lunchtime over there, huh? Well, it's about 8 a.m. for me. But I work nights, so my AM and PM are flipped. So it's actually, to me, it's winding down towards the end of the day. Okay, attack with Ninja is no surprise. We're not going to want to block, so they're going to be able to draw another card. This might be the reason to keep the Huntmaster back, but their life total is so low. It only takes a few more hits with the Huntmaster to kill him. I mean, they'll be able to chump whenever it matters, and here's the Lightning Bolt anyway. Blue Elemental Blast, why you fail me? Yeah, exactly right. I live in Nova Scotia. Okay, so the opponent has got this wrapped up in a nice little bow. We only have cards we can't cast in hand, and our board is not looking too good against theirs, so we're just going to concede and move on to the next one. We only have 2 drops here and a bunch of lands. I'm not interested in this hand. This hand has no lands. Likewise, not interested. We'll have to keep this. We'll throw away probably 2 lands. We have a bunch of 1-drops. So we should be able to play them out quite quickly. Still on Stompy, good choice. Stompy is one of my favorite decks in Pauper. Okay, so we're playing against Urza. The Wellwisher is not going to be of any real value. We do have access to 1 more mana, but no more 1 mana plays. Okay, here's a Prophetic Prism. And Priest of Titania. Well, that's part of it, right? Can't be lucky every day, but it's nice when you are. I got quite lucky yesterday when I was playing the Death and Taxes. Okay, we're going to attack for 2 here and play Priest of Titania. And then we'll pass. Yeah, Elves is a very difficult matchup for Stompy. Oh, look at that. Fengrin Marauder. Every time they sacrifice an artifact, they gain 5 life. And that's every time an artifact is put into the bat. Okay. So yeah, the wording isn't exactly sacrifice, but basically every time they lose an artifact, gain 5 life. Going to be quite good with their chromatic stars. And that's also a roadblock. So I'm not going to be able to just attack anymore. Oh, alright. What, okay. Yeah, it was a good deck and a good run. Death and Taxes is very strong in Modern right now. So I think that we want to play our Wellwishers so we can gain more mana, and then we can lead the Stampede with a Priest of Titania. Okay, so we draw 3. Play the Nettle Sentinel, and then the Quirion Ranger means that we have access to as much mana as we could want. But we don't need it because we're out of cards at this point. We do have access to enormous amounts of life, but I don't think that's going to really be important in this matchup. You play Storm in Modern? Well, that's a great deck as well. Storm has been around for such a long time, too. One of the pillars of the format. Do you have any favorite Storm players? Any other YouTubers or professionals that you like to watch? Okay, so they're just gaining tons of life with these chromatic stars as well as cycling through their deck. Yeah, Caleb is quite the wizard when it comes to Storm. I've seen him play a few times, I believe, on the SCG circuit back when people were allowed to congregate in groups. Not much point in attacking here. The game isn't going to be about life totals. Okay, we get Timberwatch Elf, which is one of the cards that we were looking for. And with the Quirion Ranger, it'll hit for quite a large amount. So we're just going to go ahead and play it. And hope that they don't have an answer in the next turn. And we can also just go ahead and gain a ton of life. I would agree with that statement. Okay, so they're destroying the Timberwatch Elf. Good play from the opponent. They realize that all the elves on the board here mean nothing, but the Timberwatch Elf is game over. So they kept their removal spell for the important creature. Okay, we're out of gas and we don't want to attack into their 5/5 and start losing our creatures. So the opponent has a ton of value here. Continuously drawing cards. What's this? Reap and Sow. Okay, so searches for a land and puts it into play. And it can also destroy a land. Okay, so they get the Fengraph and get the Muldrifter back. And we find Distant Melody. We have access to blue mana, so we're going to go ahead and do that. And they're tapped out, so this could be pretty good. Let's see what we get. Okay, so we find Lead the Stampede, Timberwatch Elf, Elvish Vanguard, Sylvan Ranger to find Island, and then we can maybe hold up Prohibit somehow. We're going to want to get the Vanguards down first. The Sentinel's already tapped. I should be putting out the other Sentinel too, but I want to get the Vanguards out. Going to be tapping the Nettle Sentinels for mana as much as possible, because they untap when I cast a spell. Okay, we'll go get Island with that. I should always be yielding to these. Play the Island. Now we have access to Prohibit. I still want to play the rest of these cards out though. we'll use the Priest of Titania and Lead the Stampede. Okay, we draw 2. Put out another Timberwatch Elf. And another Fyndhorn Elves and another Priest of Titania. Okay, and at this point we have access to Prohibit, and we can also use the Quirion Ranger to untap one of the Priest of Titania, so we can play Prohibit with Kicker. At this point here, I think we're just going to pass. We don't have attacks yet. We'll have attacks next turn if our opponent lets us. Thanks, Crown. That was all that from a distant melody, huh? We'll let the impulse through. We're not worried about the card that's drawing them the cards. We're worried about the answer. If they can't answer this board, they're going to die. Prism is fine. Muldrifter is fine. We can't counter it anyways. But it looks like a loss for the opponent, unless they have something hidden here. Okay, we're going to go ahead and gain the life, because why not end the game at 100 life when you can? Okay, we get a Huntmaster. We'll move to combat. They could have a Fog, but we have the counterspell for that. Attack with all creatures. We're going to hold back Birchlore Rangers. The Wellwishers can go in. The Timberwatch Elves need to hold back. And the Quirion Ranger wants to hold back. Okay. So this is where they Fog, and then we counter. They only have access to a single green mana. Keep reading that Tron is a good matchup for Elves, but why? Don't have a lot of experience yet with that, so I would have trouble answering that. But maybe we can discover that in this match together. Okay, we won a game. Good for us. So we're playing against Tron. I'm thinking the Gleeful Sabotage might be okay, but they weren't presenting a ton of artifacts, right? We're going to want it for their Bonder's Ornament. They were referring to Flicker Tron. Yeah, this is an older build of Tron. What would the Longbow be hitting? I think we can probably take out Wellwisher. Yeah. It would potentially give me something to do with all my mana and all my elves. But yeah, Fengren would answer that quite neatly. They would be gaining life faster, and then we could deal damage with that. The Gruesome Fate can end them in a turn, though. I'm not too hot on the Wellwisher in this matchup. Huntmaster seems quite good. Definitely like the Prohibit as an answer to their fog. Well, perhaps we'll get rid of one of the mana dorks then. Okay, so 2 Distant Melodies isn't really what I would like to see, but this hand is fine and we have the island to cast it. We'll keep. Okay, Quirion Ranger. That'll be nice later. We'll play the Elves from Ice Age, I believe, is when these were first printed. Okay, so we have access to 3 mana, more if we decide to play Quirion Ranger, but I like playing the Vanguard into Elvish Mystic here. Okay, so they miss on the 3rd Tron piece. This is a pretty cool land, strictly better than most of the filter lands that are available in Pauper. Okay, we find a 3rd land. So we have access to 3, 4, 5 mana. We can play the Timberwatch Elf, but they have access to a type of counter magic. Since they have blue mana, they could have potentially Essence Scatter, and that would counter the Timberwatch Elf. But otherwise, they wouldn't have access to anything. The Distant Melody would be, they would need Negate. But I'm not too hot on casting that for 3. I could play the Quirion Ranger and draw 4. That seems pretty good. But I like being able to play the Timberwatch Elf here when they're least likely to be able to counter it. And we'll hold up the blue mana here as a kind of bluff. Okay. So we managed to resolve it. They could still have red spells, though, with the cave. We'll play the Quirion Ranger. And attack for 4. Get a clock going. Okay, here's a red, and it's Electrickery. So we're going to lose some of our elves. 3 for 1 for the opponent, making Distant Melody quite a bit worse. And they're evoking the Muldrifter. So we are going to be able to hit for quite a bit of damage this turn. We get another Timberwatch Elf, so that'll increase the damage this turn by a little bit more. Attack with the Vanguard and give it +3/+3. So that's half their life. Okay, they need to find some kind of answer here. Dude, you need an answer. You're dead on board. Okay, we got there. No lands, so we're going to have to mulligan. We do have 1 land here and a mana dork. We're going to keep. I'm in between these 3 cards, the Distant Melody, Prohibit, and the Huntmaster. I like getting rid of the Prohibit here and keeping the Melodies to draw out of our mulligan. We have access to blue mana. And we're going to be wanting to spend all of our mana every turn. Okay, start with a Fyndhorn Elves. versus Terramorphic Expanse. Okay, we find a land. So we have access to 3 mana. Okay, this doesn't change our mana total, unfortunately. Snow-Covered Island looks like a fairy deck. Okay, they're brainstorming on the main phase. Probably looking for lands. Okay, it looks like they're brainstorm locked. Doesn't mean too much. And we get another Distant Melody. So we have a handful of cards we cannot play. We have access to 3 mana total. The opponent's going to be quite happy to see us attacking there, and we'll pass. Okay, Timberwatch Elf, that's a play. We're going to want to probably play it pre-combat, because if they sniff it out and kill the Fyndhorn Elves during combat when we attack with the Birchlore Rangers, then we're just out of mana. Okay, they're spreading the Timberwatch Elf. Makes sense. So this is the second time we're seeing Is It, which is a little bit surprising. Normally expecting to see Dimir if we're seeing a fairy deck. They might have no land drop here. Okay, Lead the Stampede. I mean, we might as well play it. It's our only play. Looks like maybe a counterspell from the opponent. Spell Pierce. Okay. Okay, the opponent missed on land. So they're just holding up whatever they have, counterspell, whatever. Looks like we're going to attack for 2 and play the Elvish Vanguard. And we'll pass. Elvish Vanguard will be a target for removal. Oh, that's interesting. I haven't seen this in Pauper. Hieroglyphic Illumination. That's a good call. I like that addition to the deck. I might consider playing that in the Dimir decks. Being able to cycle it for 1 will make it fodder for Gurmag Angler, and being able to draw 2 at instant speed for 4 mana is something that I would be interested in. Okay, we find land. We have access to the Huntmaster now. We also have access to Distant Melody. I know I said I was interested in drawing 2 for 4 mana, but decided to play the elf first. So here's a cover up. So they're going to exile the spell and put 4 cards. Okay, they're going to shuffle 4 cards in. Okay, here we go again. Opponent seems quite satisfied to let us attack in for 2 every turn. I think that I have the mana, if the opponent does not counter the Quirion Ranger, that I would be able to use a Distant Melody. Let's see here. So I would tap a forest, play the Quirion Ranger, attack with my 2 creatures, and then I return the forest, play it again. I would have 3 mana, the Quirion Ranger and the untapped Birchlore Rangers, and that would be 4 mana for the Distant Melody. Okay, so we can attack with both. The opponent has just been letting this happen up until now. This is the first time they've had a response. They're going to be able to kill one of our creatures, and if they kill the Birchlore Rangers, which it looks like they are going to, then we're not going to be able to Distant Melody. I think this is the first time I've seen the Fairy Duelist in Pauper. So the opponent is playing quite a unique list. Okay, another Quirion Ranger. Have no access to blue though. Okay, Spellstutter Sprite counters the Quirion Ranger. Going to be looking to be bringing in the archers, that's for sure. Looks like the opponent is sitting back and just being quite reactive. Llanowar Elf. Let's just go ahead and move on to the next game here. The opponent has us on the back foot. We have 3 uncastable cards in hand. They're going to bring in Scattershot Archers. Bring in Spidersilk Armor. We'll take out one of the melodies. Take out Huntmaster. And what else we're going to take out? Considering taking out Wellwisher. Is Gruesome Fate something I want in this matchup? I don't think so. Okay, we're going to run like this. Okay, so we have too many lands in this hand. We have not enough lands in this hand, but we're going to keep. We have access to Birchlore, Quirion Ranger. If we can get a Sylvan Ranger, then we're going to be okay. I'm thinking about actually throwing away the Vanguard here, even though it's the only win card we have in the hand. I'm more interested in having access to mana. So we'll play the Birchlore Rangers to start, and the Quirion Rangers on the next turn will unlock more mana if we do not find a land. Okay, so the opponent is playing Terramorphic Expanse, which means we can do whatever we want. We do not find land, so we're going to have to start with Quirion Ranger. We can play Priest of Titania into Scattershot Archer. And then we just hope they don't have Electrickery. they have Electrickery this turn, then we're toast. And they do. That's unfortunate. I think that we did have to play that way, but yeah, we wouldn't have had the mana to play the Spidersilk Armor regardless last turn. We needed the Priest of Titania in play to get the 3rd mana for the Scattershot Archer. Oh, timing. Yeah, it was, and they get Scred in hand. So this game is basically over. A very well-timed Electrickery from the opponent. There's nothing we can do at this point. So, that's the league. Exactly the opposite of the last league we did with Elves. Last time we ended up going 4-1, I'm pretty sure. And this time we are 1-4. Anyways, that's Magic. It happens to everybody. So we're not going to let that get us down. We're going to find a different Pauper deck to play with. Exactly, Crown. Unlucky, it happens. That's part of playing a game with variance. If I wanted to play a game that was entirely based on skill, I would play chess. I would play Go. Anyway, I'm not exactly sure what I'm going to be playing next week. I'm thinking probably Boros Bully. I think that it probably would have been being able to guaranteed have that land so that we could have continued to play Magic on turns 3 and 4 instead of just sitting there twiddling our thumbs and hitting the concession button. I think you're right. The Sylvan Ranger would have been the better play there. And we would have still had enough mana to put the Spidersilk Armor out on turn 3. So I think that would have been a better play. Anyway, I'm going to be playing Modern tomorrow. If y'all are interested, I'm going to be playing the 3rd league with Death and Taxes. And I'll be back next week. Pauper will be on Tuesday, and I think I'm going to put together Boros Bully. Not sure what I'm going to play with Modern. So I hope you all have a nice day, and I'll see you next time.